heading out today to help my buddy get his bike on his truck so that the dealer can double check the brakes and give it a final nod. Good idea. We were playing around at the track this is a couple of months ago now, and there was a low side on his BMW S1000RR, and I mean the thing wasn't totaled, but I mean the plastics were a mess, handlebars busted, I believe the tire came off the wheel, yeah, that sort of stuff. The brake pedal or brake peg snapped off, you know, all that sort of peripheral stuff. So he's better than me. He basically put the thing back together. Now he's gonna load up onto the truck, have the dealer give it a final inspection before he does 180 miles an hour on the track, which I think is wise. And we're gonna go see the bike and go take a look. So whatever you damage, even when I dropped this thing, I took the opportunity to make some changes, make some upgrades. You know, parts that are broken you can replace with something better. I mean, it doesn't apply to everything, but almost anything it could. So you drop your bike. I know it's no fun, it's going to cost you some money, but no need to complain. Just do something positive with it. Make it better than it was. Make it interesting. Man, I haven't been on this bike enough lately. Parents visiting. And one of which requires a lot of medical care. I'm sure some of you guys know how that is. And yeah, I had 2 board exams. You know, the kind of exams that allow you to do what you do to pay for things like this. So that's a priority. I'd love to cruise around all day and just let the wind take me where it takes me. And a lot of guys do that. But yeah. Need some stability. Yeah. Woo! This little baby Audi. Hey, little baby. Finally, like doing 100 around here. Someone's getting pulled over by a cop. And considering I have an interim license, it's not going to be me. I found out yesterday I've been driving around for the past 3 years with a non-motorcycle license. Who would have thought? I never looked at my own license. It did not say M1 on it. Last time I updated the license, they didn't transfer the motorcycle part of it. I forget now. I've been pulled over at least twice. And neither time was it mentioned, thankfully. Because they can just impound your bike. I mean, if you have no evidence that you should legally be riding a motorcycle, you can just take that motorcycle away from you until you can produce that evidence. One guy, the person at the DMV was telling me, he came in, he's all upset. Apparently his bike was impounded. Now, the first thing is you get pulled over by a cop. I mean, that's usually partially your fault. Usually. So, you can only complain so much about the incident. And someone like me not having M1 on his driver's license, you'd think I would have picked that up at some point in the past 3 years. So fault is very rarely on one party. But this guy came in and they said he was He was upset. His bike was impounded. He couldn't even get it until he actually could produce proof. So they helped him out to get it sorted out, is what they told me. But, you know, well, that's going to be a pain in the butt enough as it is without having to deal with license classifications that were not your fault. I love people on this road. Anyone in the San Diego area knows it's just people doing 100. Not that I can complain, so I just play with the other guy, but I was just doing it to mess with them. They're doing 100 miles an hour on this road. I mean, the speed limit's like 55 or something. It's nuts. But in San Diego, there's a couple of major highways, or actually there's one major highway, the 5, that runs north to south. Runs right into Mexico and goes all the way up into LA, past LA, Northern California. Long, long road, and it basically follows the coast. And then shooting off this road is perpendicular, smaller highways like this one that head east. And there's just so much angst on these roads. I think a lot of it has to do with people pissed about where they live, having to commute in and out of the coastal areas. And they're driving in and out of these areas like they're being branded. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but those of you that get really upset about asymmetry in these two brass gates, I mean, I like it. I like asymmetry. I like weird things in general. But I realized that the cap for the fuel may not be available forever, so I went and picked one up in case I ever have a problem with symmetry, or I sell a bike if someone really wants, you know, something that looks a little more symmetric. The problem is when I put it on, it's not going to be aged the same way as my fuel gauge. Like I said, the biggest change in this bike, man, is the suspension. I know I keep harping on this, but it's made the most significant difference in the quality of the experience on this bike. Just in terms of hitting your regular bumps, and also in just the sensation of stability. When you're taking corners, when you're taking off, and when you stop, you're not getting this rocking horse effect, and it's not so loose, you know? It's so much more predictable. That was one thing. If I couldn't have fixed that, this thing would have gone. I just couldn't tolerate the stock suspension. What a mess. But they don't sell these anymore, so I'm not sure who I'm talking to, but suspension is just so important. Sorry, I gotta get in front of these people. All this towing. I should make a video of my buddy's handlebars. He had, what was it, Wonderlic? I think it was Wonderlic, but I'm not sure. His original bars, it gave him a little bit extra height, so it's more comfortable. This guy goes all out on everything. I gotta at least take a picture of the truck he has to haul his bike. It's nuts. I'll just say that, and I'm sure you'll agree. But the reason I'm saying that is he's beat up his cervical spine pretty good for from taking part in life's adventures. He's a good guy, inspiring guy, and because of that, it's not the most comfortable for him. I mean, on the track, he doesn't care, of course, because you know, how long are you out there for? 20 minutes at a time? But when he takes it for longer rides on the road, I'm sure everyone else said it too, it's not the most ideal situation to be hunched over like that. So you got some bars initially when he blew up the bike that lifted the handlebars a little bit, and since the low side he got an even more flexible set of bars that was telling me, it looks like they get as high as the S1000 single R-bars. And maybe even higher. God, the sound of this thing. Friggin' love it. God, you can just feel it. So, you can just feel it. Hear and feel his pistons up and down. It's just very, very visceral. Even when you're cruising like this, it's such an experience. Harley really made some special engines. I know they're not technologically advanced. I mean, clearly. And that's why it's nice to have a bike that's on the other side of the spectrum, so you can enjoy that aspect of motorcycling as well. But it's a different type of masterpiece. It's something intended more for the experience. Something that moves through you. As opposed to something to just wow you with its pure capability. I mean, it's not as if they don't have the R&D budget to produce something incredibly advanced. You know, it's not as if they can't hire engineers that other companies hire. It's not about that. It's making what customers want, and you know, this is what I want. I don't want some 10, 15,000 RPM, 170 horsepower sewing machine smooth engine. I just don't want that. I mean, if that's what I want, I'd get an electric bike, you know. And to me, that's the most modern thing you can get. I mean, it's as smooth as you're gonna get. All the torque comes right away. And any year now, they're gonna put something out that has a better range. It's not all about that. Suddenly I feel a bit nostalgic and like a bit of a dinosaur. I always peep out like these old school cars that I've always said, why do people want those things? They're just, you know, waiting to break down on you. I understand, man. It's not about its pure capability, and it may not be the most reliable thing on earth, but it's about the experience, and sometimes the experience is worth it. This area, Poway, is beautiful because he's got some goodies. I'm not going to show the road to the house just for practical reasons, but what a nice place to live. I mean, it's so close. It's, you know, 10 miles or so, 15 miles maybe from the coast, and you just got some land out here, and it's just so pretty. I have a hard time riding this road in a Grom, never mind a Harley. Corners are nice, but sometimes they're just too tight. Well, that was productive. Let's not scare this dog here. We get the bike in the truck. I'll show you the picture of that thing. It's ridiculous. That's a big one. And off to the dealer. Get that thing finally touched up before we take it back out. We had a good conversation about work and family, fun balance. Talking about the lure of just working longer and longer, more hours, working a higher percentage of your total time for a limited gain. You know, you're in a certain tax bracket and you don't see much of what you make. You know, you're always going to see half or just a little bit over. And what you lose in time with your family and losing time doing things like this, just hanging out with your buddies and enjoying life, it's just not worth it. So a lot of people that have very successful businesses or, you know, just working all the time and have very, very high incomes. These aren't people really in my circle, but you know, things aren't right. Oftentimes they're not right at home, and it's for a reason, because, well, they don't live at home, they're not there, you know. So you open yourself up to problems with your kids and problems with your marriage, and not expanding yourself and your mind as much because you don't have time to do it. It's just you're grinding and grinding and grinding until the health finally catches up with you. And then you have a couple of scares, or it kills you the first time it pops up. And you're lucky if it doesn't, because you might have a good 10 years after that to finally realize what matters most. So don't fall into that trap. In your 20s, yeah, it's time to work your butt off, but it's also time to still live, because nothing is guaranteed, especially tomorrow. Just because you're 18, 19 doesn't mean that tomorrow's going to come. There's a lot of surprises out there. Don't think too far ahead. You want to enjoy the moment, enjoy the sound of your engine. The thing I find in this bike, and I'm sure many of the Harleys as well, or any bike with a lot of torque down low, is the first gear. It's difficult to use because my jump on this bike, being behind any typical car, the bike, you know, 0 to 30 is extraordinarily quick. And you see his videos of these there's one in particular I'm thinking about, these very short races between, you know, a Harley or just sort of a V-twin engine compared to a sport bike, and it's like a back alley race, you know what I mean? It's not, we're not talking a quarter mile. A sport bike would kill it every time, but what I'm trying to say is there's enough torque in that first gear. The bike wants to go and leap out much faster than most cars will. You're short of a, you know, electric car that's driven aggressively. And it takes a while to adapt to that because you're up in someone's bumper. And you have to, you know, start in second gear or just be super gentle in first, and come to acknowledge that you can't just accelerate as you wish. It's also why bikes it's good to split in California, because you can get ahead of the pack pretty easily.